Hello guys and welcome to another video, and in this one we'll be driving this daily race B at Suzuka, and it's one of the best combinations that I've seen in a while. Not only because it's group free, but it's also that we have 5 laps. So 5 laps in daily B, I think this is kind of the perfect number that we can get. About 10 minutes of racing, more or less. It really depends on how you drive and how fast you are. But as you can see, I didn't even put the lap time on the leaderboards, and in the end it was like 2:01.1, which is not that great, let's be honest. It's really not that great. Somehow I improved about 3/10, so it was actually okay. And then I looked at the leaderboards and the leading guy was doing a 59.1, so I knew there was something off. So these are the settings that you need to change. So you can actually change the suspension settings, and these are the best ones that I've found. So I actually had a little bit of help from the chat, so thank you very much, chat, for helping me kind of figure this out. So these are the settings that I used for the GTR. For another car, I think it would be a little bit different. And in the end, I somehow managed to get a 2-minute 0.3, which is decent, but it's still not great. And it was, you know, it was looking better and better lap by lap, and you can definitely see here in this middle section, I just wasn't struggling that much. So these suspension settings really helped me a lot, and of course the braking balance was put to +4, but I think even +5 could be even better. So I didn't really try it out in the end. Maybe I should have, but I think +4 was kind of optimum for this one. You can try +3, +5, it really depends on what your driving style is. And this was in the end good enough to get me into the starting position P2 in the race. So it's the first race that I've done. I think I've done about 5 races in total, and I was starting in P2. I really didn't know the track that well. It was kind of okay, but I can see the guy in front of me just sliding a little bit, and I thought, okay, maybe I even got this. But I know he's a very experienced driver. He's not gonna lose it that easily. And now I'm under the threat from behind, so I got this Lambo behind, and he's just, you know, he's trying to find that little sweet spot so he can put his nose in there and, you know, actually take this P2 from me. And later you will see that he's also a very quick driver, and he's just not gonna give up that easily. So I knew, okay, I am attacking here, but I'm also the one who is getting attacked. So it's really a tough situation because we are all in just about a second, maybe even less than a second. And this is one of the tracks that I really need. I need about 10-15 laps to really get into the zone with this track, and I've only done like 5-6, so it wasn't the best. And here, and just as I said before, he is a really good one. He's just, you know, knows where and how to put his nose in, and, you know, Lambo was actually pretty decent on this track, and in the end, somehow I managed to get up there. I mean, somehow I kind of got myself out of that situation, but it wasn't over. It wasn't even, it was far from over. So he was just really close and in the slipstream now under the straight, and he's got a pretty decent chance of attacking and eventually taking my P2. So I need to go defensive once again, but now at the same time I thought, okay, we're just gonna lose P1. I mean, he just flew way into the distance, and he's like, okay, you guys fight, I'm just gonna move from this point, and, you know, you guys do it. But yeah, I'm once again defending my position, and I'm kind of trying to find a little bit of that clean air so I can try to push, but I'm actually struggling at this point to find some grip on the track, and he's pushing, he's really pushing me, and you can see him, I mean, not even 2/10 behind. And once again, I need to go defensive in turn 1. It's not the best line, but it's the line that is going to defend this position, and just go on the outside, or going on the outside is almost like mission impossible. It's definitely not going to work. I mean, if you're on the outside of turn 1, I think the best thing that you can do is just ease off and let the guy pass. I mean, there is no point. It's kind of dangerous, but at the same time, you're just not going to get the benefit out of it. So, you know, chances of succeeding and making a move in turn 1 on the outside is kind of close to 0. You're probably going to be taken out, and there is no point of doing something like that. So I knew that he is probably not going to try something like that, and even if he tries, you know, it's not going to end up well. So here, moving into lap number 3, and I got into some clean air, and from this point on I had no threat from behind until this point, which was, you know, one of Gran Turismo zones. One of Gran Turismo finest things, and this is, yeah, penalties. I love penalties in this game. So I went wide, I lost time, and once again I got a half a second penalty, which meant that, yeah, he's once again gonna be really close. And once again, going on the outside here isn't really like the best option, but here you can eventually do it if you position the car right. But I just closed the doors. It was good enough from my end, and I mean, he wasn't really pushing me that hard here. And now once again onto the straight, I will go defensive because it's the last lap. I need to defend, and I knew at this point I was a little bit quicker than him, and it just meant a lot just to defend at this point. So yeah, last lap of the race, going on the outside once again isn't like the smartest option. He tried it, but as you can see, there is no point. I mean, you can probably get a better exit if you position the car a little bit differently, but now he got onto the grass, lost the car slightly, and I was able to move up and get some breathing space at this point and just ease off and get my P2. So I just settled down into the rhythm, and I saw that he made one more little mistake, which meant that there is like at least like half a second to about a 7/10 it was in the end, and this was good enough for me to reach P2. So not the best first race, but it was, let's say, I survived. It was fine. I mean, we can say it was something like that. So first one is always the one that I'm like, okay, I need to survive, and in the second race, in this one, I need to be, I just need to be better. So this was actually, I believe, third race of the evening, and it was one of the most interesting ones. So here, once again, I couldn't improve in those, I think we got about 6 minutes, so that's about 3 laps that you get to improve your lap time, and it just wasn't enough. Once again, I started in P2, and it's pretty much the same thing over and over again. And yeah, I mean, now the Hungarian, not really sure if he's Hungarian, it's not, but okay. We can call him Hungarian. You can probably find out in the comments why. Okay, here I'm trying to stay as close as possible to him. I know that at this point he's just struggling with the car. I don't know what's going on with this RCZ. I mean, it's not that great in the opening lap, but really in the end it just flies away from you. It's like lap 2, lap 3 is just like flying over the track, and I guess it's because the tires are just not warm enough yet, and it's just the tires are not up to temp. So I think this car is sliding a little bit too much in that first and a half, maybe I would say even 2 laps. It's really sketchy to drive. So here, I'm just following him, and I'm just trying to stay as close as possible, stay in that slipstream, and you can see really the difference between the RCZ and this GTR, and how much more acceleration he's getting out of this hairpin. So it's unbelievable. GTR is kind of good in those middle sections where you need kind of mid-speed turns, but here is like slow speed turns are not for a GTR. High speed, it's kind of, it's okay, but it's not great. So straight line speed with this GTR 18 is not the best one. The 13 version of the GTR had much better straight line speed, and I was lucky enough here to stay in the slipstream and to follow him. So I knew that going on the outside isn't really gonna work, but I kind of squeezed my nose in there just to know, okay, I'm here, but maybe later I can just try to go for a move if you make a mistake in the next corner. So that really didn't happen, so he covered down the inside like I would normally, and now we were just kind of in this trio fight. But it was like, okay, he missed slightly his entry and the exit wasn't really there, but this RCZ had so much better acceleration than the GTRs, and he was just able to get away with it. And now, just as I said before, going on the outside isn't the smartest idea, and here you can see why. So there is a little contact from the Lamborghini and the RCZ, and yeah, I'm on the outside and there's nothing good, there's definitely nothing good about it. And I just watched it from a different angle. It wasn't like a huge hit, it just wasn't intentional, but it happened. And that's why I said like it's not a good idea to stay on the outside. And once again, that's exactly what I did. And just one little note here, so if you get on this AstroTurf, it's definitely worth taking a wider line and taking a wider line over the Astro. Otherwise, if you take a very narrow line over the Astro, you might even end up in the grass there. So just try to take a wider line and you should be okay. So if you're wondering why I'm taking such a wide line, that's the reason why. But now, again, I got this little Porsche behind. It's a green one, and I can see it. I mean, it's just flashing that, bright green color. And I know he is really close, and I got dirty tires, so he's gonna get even closer. And I'm like, okay, I need to settle down. I need to, focus on the next 3-4 corners until my tires are kind of cleaned up and I get that optimum grip, but I'm really struggling, and you can really see that how much am I struggling. He's going on the outside, and inside I'm kind of covering it, but he decides to pull away from it and really don't make that move. But now I don't know what happened here. I think he just got a little bit of the understeer, which put him into the grass, and I was able to get away with it. So back in P3, and once again I'm starting to chase the guy in front, and it was, you know, this was actually one of the toughest ones that I had, because I got a Porsche in front of me, which is really good in the corners, so I cannot really follow in the corners. But then on the straight, he's too far away, and I cannot really go for that move. And now, once again, on the outside, there is no point of going. I'm not close enough, but I'm just waiting until he makes a mistake, or if the gap opens up. And it's usually the first thing, he makes a mistake. So that's usually the things that happen in Suzuka, because, you know, just if you miss it a little bit, you're gonna go onto grass, you're gonna get a penalty, or something is gonna happen, and eventually you're gonna lose like a second and a half, 2 seconds, or you might even spin out. So it's definitely worth waiting in here. So nothing too crazy, I'm not pushing at this point, but, you know, if he just makes a little mistake, I know he's gonna lose that half a second, so I might even have a shot with this. And yeah, he's just trying to defend this position, and I really didn't want to go for it. I mean, there was no point. And now he's got a half a second penalty, so he actually went slightly too narrow and cut the entry into that corner. But, you know, at this point I knew, okay, half a second, that's exactly what I need on the straight, I will get it. But I didn't had to wait that long. He made a mistake and spun out of the hairpin, and just as I said before, it's, you know, that's the first thing, just wait until someone gets a mistake and just, you know, someone gets a penalty. And he just stayed in first gear, too much rotation, and I know how it feels. It's like the worst feeling ever in that hairpin. But somehow I managed to finish this one in P2, and I don't know, I mean, it was good enough to finish in P2, but you still want that win. I mean, at least I want it. You always want to get onto that top step and really focus on that. So that's why we got race number 3, or at least it's the 3rd race in this video. So once again, GTR, and I got the same combination in here. Pretty much the same combination. It's really not the same, but, you know, it's everything, something changes. You know, it's one opponent gets in, one opponent gets out, and you know, it's always a struggle to keep the guy behind you, still behind you, and to get that place. So once again, I can see this RCZ. I guess it's about the tires, so the tires are really not warmed up yet, and it's a very sketchy car to drive around, especially here in this middle section, or I can call it middle section. Anything that starts from the SS and then goes to the hairpin, I can call this a middle section, because there's a lot of corners in here, and you really need to be careful on how you position the car and how you put the power down. Otherwise, the car might spin out and you might lose control, and of course in the first lap it's really easy to make that mistake. So I'm just trying to follow, I'm just trying to stay in the slipstream, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do here in the hairpin. I mean, not really the hairpin, but it's kind of getting closer to the hairpin right here, and this is the section where I tend to make a mistake, I get a penalty, or something eventually happens. I mean, it's always something. And here I'm just trying to go a little bit wider, second gear on the way out, but again, this RCZ has so much better acceleration. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, GTR could be something like that, but then if you put the power down in second gear, it just flies away, it just drifts. But here, once again, as I said, you just need to wait until someone makes a mistake and just going a little bit too wide. I don't even know how he saved it, squeezed myself into P1. And there we go. So this wasn't even intentional. I didn't even try to do that. I just tried to avoid him. And on top of that, I really didn't know how he saved this one, because look at this. On the Astro, which usually ends up in like a huge spin, and somehow I got myself into the inside of this turn, kind of outside of this one. Still gave him just about enough space, but it was kind of okay. I mean, I still don't know how he saved it, but now I'm under threat from him, because he's got much better acceleration out of the last corner, and I was not having that optimal line, but he just tries not to give me that much space. This is very smart driving, so just tries to minimize my chance of defending this one. But, you know, once again, if you go on the outside, it's, you know, it's very tricky to do something like that. You really don't know what's going to happen. So here at this point, I'm just like, okay, I need to drive carefully. I just need to make it until the finish of this lap. I mean, I just need to kind of get into that clean air and really build my speed and build my focus and eventually build my consistency in this lap. So it's all about staying in front and just keeping it tidy, keeping it together. And you know, that's exactly what I did. I just kept it clean. I don't think I even made one mistake. Maybe I missed a corner, but then he made that little mistake once again in the same corner, which is super easy to do. So if you're just following someone in front of you, you get so much dirty air that it's almost impossible to make the corner. So you have to stop and you have to just press the brakes. And this was good enough. And you know, at the end of the evening, it's just like, okay, finally, you know, finally it's here. And finally, after like what it was, like an hour and a half, I got my first win. And I think this one was definitely worth it. So guys, let me know what you think about this race down in the comments. And if you want to see more of this, you can like the video and you can subscribe to the channel. So guys, until the next time, bye.